Hello everyone. Today we shall discuss third chapter of the history, that is ruling countryside. As we are knowing, till the 18th century, after winning the two battles, Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, slowly and gradually, whole India came under the control of the British power, and it was the East India Company who was interested to make trade with India so that its economic interest can be fulfilled. But later on, when company got the whole Indian territories, it started to administer the Indian territories by its own methods. Why company started to administer the Indian territories by his own method? There were reasons behind it. First, when there was not any control of the British, then to purchase the raw materials from the Indians, they have to pay either in the silver or in the gold, and this made the treasury of the company drained. So to overcome from this problem, company tried to control the revenue system of the India, and it was the Battle of Buxar. It was the Battle of Buxar which gave a boost to the company. Why? Because in this Battle of Buxar, the Nawab of the Awadh, Shah Alam II, was being defeated by the company, and as Shah Alam II defeated in the Battle of Buxar, he gave the Diwani rights, means he gave the right to collect the revenue to the company of which areas? Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. So when such areas came under the control of the company for the purpose of collecting revenue, then company started to implement its own measures to control the revenue system. Mostly there were the three main systems which were implemented by the company for the collection of the revenue. First one was the permanent settlement. This permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis in the year of 1793. What happened in this permanent settlement? In this permanent settlements, Jamidars were appointed by the company officials, and it was the responsibility of the Jamidar to collect the revenue from their given areas or from their areas, and a fixed amount the Jamidar has to pay to the company annually. It has some merits for the company. First, company got a class of gentry people who can administer the areas on the behalf of him. And this permanent settlement was introduced into the Bengal, Bihar and the Orissa. Secondly, by getting the fixed revenue, the economic system or the economy of the company increased. But this permanent settlement was very disadvantageous for the Indians. Why? Because the Jamidars who were appointed by the company to collect the revenue, they were not having any type of moral values towards the farmers. Either the bad crop is there, famine is there, any other natural calamity is there, no problem for them. Anyhow, they have to collect the revenue, and by this process, farmers have to pay a huge amount of the money, and this caused a very serious problem for the small farmers. Small farmers who were unable to pay the revenue, they have to mortgage their land or they have to sell their land, because for paying the interest they have taken loan from the money lenders, and when they were unable to repay the loan amount to the money lenders, they have to sell their lands. So this was the permanent settlement. Second one was the Ryotwari system. This was the Ryotwari. This Ryotwari system was implemented in the Bombay and Madras presidency, and this Ryotwari system was introduced by the Captain Alexander Reed. And later on it was implemented or developed by Sir Thomas Munro. Listen, Ryotwari system got its name from the Ryot, and Ryot means farmers. My dear students, the Jamidars which were appointed by the company for the collection of the revenues, they were not too much helpful for the company. Why? Because after paying the specific amount annually to the company, they were also taking huge amount of revenues from the farmers and they were becoming rich. So to solve this problem, this settlement was introduced. In this settlement, revenue collection was directly contracted between the Ryot, means farmers, and the company. Now, the farms of the farmers were measured, and accordingly they had to pay an amount for the purpose of the revenue. In some cases, this Ryotwari system was also not successful, because in some areas land revenue was approximately 50%. So it was very horrible for the farmers that they repay the revenue to the company. So this was also unsuccessful only. It has a lot of bad impact on the farmers, because for paying the revenue, once again farmers have to be dependent on the money lenders for taking the loan. This made their conditions miserable. Later on, maximum Ryots sell out their small land holdings and went to the other places of their linked one, either their relative ones or their any other. After this, another system which was introduced by the British for the collection of the revenue by the farmers, that was the Mahalwari system. This Mahalwari system was implemented in the North West India, province of the Punjab, some parts of the Central India. And who introduced it? It was introduced by the Halt Mackenzie. It was the Halt Mackenzie who introduced this Mahalwari system. In this Mahalwari system, a direct contract was made between the British officials and the Mahal. Mahal means the head of the village. Means first in the permanent settlement, Jamidars were there to collect the revenue. In the Rayotwari system, revenue was collected directly by the farmers, and in the Mahalwari system, the revenue collection was between the Britishers and the headman of the village. So it was the headman of the village whose responsibility was to collect the revenue from the individual village area and pay a specific amount to the company. This system also didn't got more popularity because now farmers were exploited by the village headman only. So we can see by these that in India any uniform system of revenue collection was not implemented by the British. So these were the few systems which were introduced by the British to administer the countryside area, means the village areas. Now, as we are knowing that the main interest of the British was to gain as much profit as they can. So when British saw that their economic interests are being reduced, then they give support to the plantation crops. During the 19th century, there was a great demand of the plantation crops in the various countries of the Europe. That were the rubber, coffee, tea, jute, indigo, etc. These plantation crops were planted on the huge areas of the land, and these were governed by the individuals who were known as the planters. For the cultivation of the plantation crops, there was the requirement of the large number of the laborers. So we will see now that how to increase the economic interest, Britishers forced the Indians to grow the plantation crops, and this made a clash between the Britishers and the peasants. So here we shall discuss one important plantation crop because of which revolt broke out. That was the indigo. It was also known by another name, blue dye. When industrial revolution boomed up in the 18th century, and because of the industrial revolution, cotton industries started to increase production, then this indigo or the blue dye which was produced within India got a respectable place in the world market. This indigo also a crop of the plantation, and as British saw the advantages of the indigo, they forced the Indian farmers to grow the indigo. It was a blue color of the flower which has a very good shine and luster, and it was used by the cotton textile, don't say cotton textile, it was used by the textile industry for coloring the clothes. So, for the cultivation of the indigo, British planters taken farms of the Indians on the lease, means on the contract, or in some cases they force the Indian farmers to cultivate the indigo by providing them some advances. In case when they leased out the land, then maximum workers, including the land area, were under the control of the planters, and planters tried its level best to exploit the Indians as much as they can by getting the economic interest. Second, in the second system, advance was given to the Indian peasants for the cultivation of the indigo, and in return it was a promise of the farmer that they will sell indigo to the British planters only. These both situations, either taking the land on the lease or or to cultivate the indigo by taking advance, these both systems were very much dangerous for the Indian peasants, because indigo plantation require more labors. Besides that, the plant of the indigo was bigger, its roots go deep inside the ground, and it to take the essential nutrients which were present into the soil. This was also taking the fertility of the soil and making the soil unfit for the cultivation. So when peasants saw that their economic interests are being crushed by the Britishers, they are tortured. From one side, they have taken the loan which they have to repay. Another side, the fertility of their land is also going down. Then they made revolt against it. Maximum Indians wrote a lot of pamphlets related to the plight or the problems of the indigo planters, in which Deenbandhu Mitra was the most important one, who wrote a journal named as the Neel Darpan. Don't say journal, he wrote a magazine named as the Neel Darpan, in which the plight of the indigo farmers was being written. So, as Indians saw that this blue dye or the cultivation of the blue dye is not benefited for them, they made a revolt. Revolt started from the Nadia district. In the year of 1959, where two brothers, Digambar Mitra and one more was there. These both brothers took weapons against the indigo planters. Soon this revolt spread like the forest fire, and in the neighboring areas of the Bengal, or in the whole area of the Bengal, people were totally opposed of the planters. In some cases, some planters were executed on the roadside after the trial. So to save their lives, some of the planters fled to the Europe. Then British government took harassed step to suppress the revolts made by the indigo planters, and maximum farmers were slaughtered or killed. The revolt of the indigo planters got some recognition in the Britain also, when Queen Elizabeth gave order to establish a indigo commission in the year of 1960. 1959 revolt was there. 1960 indigo commission was established, and it was the responsibility of the indigo commission to give its report to the British Crown that what were the causes responsible for the revolt. Uh, revolt. But the people who were in this commission, they made farmers guilty for their cause of the revolt. So this was all how Britishers started to rule the countryside area and how their economic interest led a conflict with the Indian peasants. So this was all about chapter 3. In the next class, we shall discuss chapter 4, colonization and tribes, means how tribes were affected by the different policies which were made by the Britishers. Till that time, bye bye my dear students.